Let's be honest. Let's drop the masks right now. I'm talking to you. The one sitting behind a closed door, the one whose browser history is a testament to a secret life. The one who feels that gnawing emptiness, that pathetic regret after the screen goes dark and the cheap, fleeting rush is gone. You call it relaxing. You call it letting off steam. You call it normal. But when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see a man of power, of clarity, of presence? Or do you see a loser? A lowlife haunted by a weakness you can't name but feel in your bones every single day. You feel that your life lacks energy, that you are not competent in your duties, that you are easily irritated. You feel a strange depression and a desire to be alone after you indulge in your secret habit. You think this is just a personality flaw, a bit of bad luck. You are wrong. This is not you. This is a program. This is a disease. This is a predictable mechanical descent into corruption that has turned vibrant men into hollow shells, into perverted creeps who are slaves to their own impulses. You are not a free man. You are a puppet, and your own perverted desires are pulling the strings. What if I told you that this feeling of being a lowlife, this weakness, this addiction, is not an accident? It is the result of a specific series of stages. A 33-stage fall from purity that Julian Lee Curtis, in his book The Bliss of the Celibate, mapped with brutal clarity. He saw how the pure boy becomes the sex addict. He saw the energy drop, the spirit darken, the mind become a frantic machine for manufacturing cheap thrills. This is not a moral lecture from a bygone era. This is the operating manual for your own destruction. It is the story of how most men become perverts, and it is very likely your story too. Pay attention, because after you hear this, you will no longer have the comfort of ignorance. You will see the chains you've mistaken for freedom, and you will be faced with a choice: remain a creep, or begin the brutal climb back to becoming a real man. It all begins in a place you've long forgotten, a state of purity. Think back. A baby boy loves his mother's voice, her eyes, her face. He feels a pure, non-sexual love for his mother. This is not some sentimental poetry, it is a spiritual reality. This is the boy in a clear state, his life force, his Shakti, dwelling in the higher parts of his being. He is unaffected by any addiction to the female form. When he notices other women, it is again the face and the voice that draw him in. The rest of her, the sexual nature of woman, has no meaning to him at all. It is foreign. He prefers the company of other boys, their energy, their courage. To his innocent eyes, the female form is not an object of desire. It is strange, maybe even slightly repulsive. He sees her body as unfortunate. He might even make fun of girls, not from a place of hidden attraction, but because he genuinely sees them as ridiculous. This is the baseline. This is the original blueprint of a man before the corruption. A man who returns to a life of purity will recognize this state and see his later obsession as a form of mental illness. But this state does not last. The world begins to press in. The programming begins. The fall is not a sudden crash. It is a slow slide, stage by miserable stage. Stage 1, the first attraction. The corruption begins subtly. He feels an attraction to another female, but it is still to her eyes and face. His Shakti, his core energy, is still high in his spine. This is the last moment of true innocence, the precipice before the fall. Stage 2, a new kind of attraction. Slowly, he begins to see women with a new kind of interest. As his body changes, as he begins to become a male, the traits of the female start to seem appealing in a way they never did before. The seed of fascination is planted. Stage 3, the breasts. Then comes a critical shift. He notices a woman's breasts and feels for the first time a distinct sexual thrill. This is not the pure love he felt for his mother. This is different. This is the moment the energy begins its long, tragic descent down the spine. A long fascination will likely develop here, with the energy still lingering around the heart. Stage 4, the first erection. At some point on seeing the naked female body, he has his first erection. His body has now responded with a powerful, involuntary force. The machine has been switched on. The body has learned a new trick, a new reaction that feels powerful and consuming. Stage 5, the hankering. He experiences the rush of sexual attraction as a form of bliss. It feels good, it feels powerful. And so he begins to hanker for it. He starts to crave repetitions of this feeling, not for connection, but as a mood alteration, a kind of narcotic that makes him feel alive. He is now chasing a feeling, the first sign of any addiction. Stage 6, the unfortunate discovery of pornography. In this fragile state, he may be unlucky enough to stumble upon pornography. This is not a harmless diversion. It is gasoline on a spark. It will dramatically speed his descent into addiction and perversion. He will feel a constant temptation to look at pictures of naked women and later sexual acts, all for that rush, for that stimulation of his sexual feeling. He is now actively seeking out a drug. Stage 7, the discovery of masturbation. He may hear about masturbation and decide to try it. The experience of this is such an overwhelming rush that he wants to do it again, immediately. This is not a natural release. It is a powerful, addictive drug, and he is the willing test subject. This is why ancient laws were given against it. It was known to be a trap. Stage 8, the orgasm. The first orgasm is a shock to the system. It is a violent explosion of energy that leaves a deep mark, a permanent impression or samskara, on his body and his consciousness. This memory, this ghost of a feeling, will haunt him. It will become a weapon he uses against himself, a memory he calls upon to incite his own lust when he tries to be free. Stage 9, the aftermath. In the moments after the lie is exposed, he will notice a clear, undeniable change in his spirit. A wave of depression hits him, a deep, sick feeling of regret. All interest in sex vanishes instantly. He has been emptied, vitiated, and demoralized. The power he felt moments before is gone, replaced by a profound weakness. Stage 10, the antisocial turn. He doesn't want to be around people. He wants to be by himself, to hide, to stare at a computer or TV, to mope around in his own filth. The orgasm has made him less interested in society, less capable of dealing with the normal stresses of other people. He feels incompetent. His homework, his duties, his responsibilities, they all feel like a massive effort now. This is not an anomaly. This is the law of nature. He chose to have his male period, and this is the price. Stage 11, the normalization of depression. He knows on some level that he has been psychologically affected, but his dad never talked about this. He never heard about this from other men. The internet and television are silent on this strange, post-orgasm sadness. So he concludes it must be nothing. He dismisses his own spirit's cry for help. He learns to fill that strange new emptiness with another distraction, another cheap thrill, like a video game. Stage 12, the sperm. He discovers the existence of sperm. At first, he is amazed to see this beautiful white substance that came from his own body. But this amazement is quickly replaced by shame. Because of the regret and the feeling of having done something wrong, the sperm itself seems gross and embarrassing. He fails to develop an attitude of honor towards this incredibly precious creative substance. He doesn't know that what he just wasted is more powerful than presidents, more precious than gold. Stage 13, the divine insult. At this point, a spiritual law is violated. The divine Shakti, the cosmic creative force, is insulted and angry. She sees her power, the very essence of creation, being dumped on the ground for no procreative purpose. She regrets that she gave this boy the sexual organ and the power of the male. And so the divine law begins to take steps to darken his world, to mess up his life. As he continues this habit, a coarse energy, a spiritual pollution, gathers in his lower chakras, casting a blight on his outer world. This is not superstition. This is the work of divine law. Stage 14, the addiction forms. After a day or so, his body regenerates some of its lost energy. With the return of energy comes the keen return of sexual interest, and he remembers that rush. Without clear guidance, without a strong male figure to warn him of the trap, he will be tempted to do it again. He does it again and again. An addiction is born. Stage 15, the lower area. His fascination now travels further down the female body. He becomes fixated on her lower area, her sexual organ. This area, which once held no attraction for him, which might have even seemed repugnant, is now the source of a fresh sexual thrill. His life force, his Shakti, is dropping lower and lower down his spine. Stage 16, the sex act. The idea of the sex act itself, which as a boy seemed stupid and disgusting, is now intensely interesting. The thought of it gives him a great sexual charge, a powerful rush. He is now mentally prepared for the next stage of his degradation. Stage 17, the first encounter. He has his first actual sexual encounter. This is a monumental event in his corruption. It marks him with incredibly powerful samskaras, memories and impressions, of sex. These memories will become his worst enemies if he ever tries to renounce his addiction. They will keep coming back to him, night and day, inciting his lust. He will actively employ these memories to masturbate when he is not with a real woman, building up fantasies that keep coming true, marking him with even deeper impressions. Later, when he sees how impossible it is to erase these mental images, he will wish with all his heart that he had never had these experiences. Stage 18, the lustful eyes. His eyes are now trained. They develop a habit of looking at the bodies of women and lusting. A man developing a sex addiction is always drawn to look at the bodies of women, on the street, at school, at work. His eyes are no longer his own, they are servants of his addiction. Stage 19, the drop to the buttocks. As his abused Shakti drops even lower, his eyes begin to follow the tail ends of females. The butt of a woman, which once had zero attraction for him, is now a source of interest. His consciousness is sinking into the mud. This individual corruption has a massive societal effect. Women, sensing this collective gaze, become preoccupied with a new part of their body, their butt. A pure society is not obsessed with this. You can chart a society's decline by which part of the female anatomy it is most obsessed about. Stage 20, the idol. He is now powerless. The female form has a seemingly magical hold over him. Every time he sees it, whether in a picture or in life, he feels an intense automatic pull. He is no longer in control. The female form has become his true idol, his de facto god, the thing he truly worships with his attention and energy. This idolatry causes all sorts of strange things to happen in the consciousness of women and in society in general. Stage 21, the fantasy machine. His mind is no longer a place of peace. It is a non-stop fantasy factory. He is fantasizing all the time. He imagines females in a constantly growing list of sexual situations, sexual acts, and sexual outfits. His mind is desperately trying to manufacture novelty and variety to keep the rush going. Because like any drug, he needs a bigger and bigger dose to get the same effect. Stage 22, the sex addict. This is what he is now, a sex addict. He gets erections at the slightest thing. He is intensely excitable. Almost any woman is seen in a sexual light. Almost any woman has some degree of a sexual charge for him. He has become thoroughly sexualized. When he sees a woman, he feels the energy drop down his spine, and his lower parts feel heavy and titillated. Drunk on this feeling, almost anyone can seem attractive. Stage 23, the depletion. He may seek more than one orgasm a day. If he manages it, he becomes profoundly depleted, thrown into a deep state of demoralization, like a severe form of PMS. He is easily irritated and easily loses his temper, especially right after an orgasm. Stage 24, the loss of competence. The consequences now spill into every area of his life. His powers of focus and concentration diminish. He is less competent, less energetic in discharging his basic duties as a man. He has less patience. He operates from a state of low morale. Stage 25, the negative deeds. He becomes a more negative person. He is more likely to get into conflicts and arguments. He operates from a less noble emotional position. This leads him to perform other unvirtuous, destructive, or negative deeds. He starts to get in trouble because of these other actions. His health weakens. He is listless, sick more often, and lacks sparkle. He might even develop a chronic health problem. Stage 26, the aversion to men. A very interesting phenomenon occurs. The sexing man becomes more comfortable with women and uncomfortable around other men. He now relates to all people primarily through a sexual charge, and for now, that means women. He feels uncomfortable getting close to men and avoids them as friends. Men no longer appeal as companions because he can't relate to them through his primary mode of interaction, the sexual charge. A sexually clean man will have close, non-sexual male friends. Our fathers were often like this. The addict, if he has any conscience left, also avoids talking about sex with other men because it makes him feel ashamed. Stage 27, the lowest chakra. The energy drops to its absolute lowest point. He finally notices a woman's anus, a part of the body that was once disgusting and completely non-sexual to him. His consciousness is now centered in the lowest possible chakra. His entire sexual nature is being corrupted from the inside out. Stage 28, the forfeiture of human form. The spiritual consequences are catastrophic. If he does not turn back from this point, he is likely to fail to reincarnate in a human form. He will be given an animal form, or even lower. This means one or more lifetimes without the opportunity for liberation, trapped in a state of dumb, helpless suffering. Stage 29, the tearing bag. The descent now accelerates into perversion. The rock of his obsession has hit the bottom of the wet paper bag of his psyche, and now it begins tearing through. Any man is capable of becoming a thief or a murderer. In the same way, any man is capable of becoming sexually perverted and corrupted. Stage 30, the warped libido. The ancient sages knew that all human sexual perversion arises from sexual sin and indulgence. The Bible says God gives them over to a corrupt mind. His moral fiber begins to visibly degrade. His libido becomes warped through overheating. His sexual appetite is jaded, and now strange, twisted things are required to give him the same old thrill. Stage 31, the perverse thrill. Things that were once deeply disturbing and repulsive to him, a child, a bizarre sex act, even blood or pain, now occasionally give him a slight, sickening sexual thrill. He is standing at the doorway to the path of the demon, a being destined to be made into fertilizer by the divine being in age after age. Stage 32, the contagion of porn. If he is still consuming pornography, he will be profoundly corrupted and tainted by the even deeper perversions of others. He catches mental and spiritual diseases from these images that will be incredibly difficult to cure. If he is not disturbed enough to quit, the sexual thrill will begin to attach itself to increasingly perverse and disturbing things. With each new collapse of his standards, he yields something more of his conscience and values. In his desperate pursuit of the sexual charge, he adapts himself to things he once knew were evil. Stage 33, the loss of control. He may still believe certain things are right or wrong, but he violates his own principles to get his drug. It no longer matters to him. He may eventually be led into an obsession with blood, violence, and other evil things, as he cultivates them as new sources for a sexual thrill. This is how bloodlust is born from sexual indulgence. He is no longer in control of his life or himself. He can feel that other forces are in control of him. Atrocious, unthinkable things come into his mind, seemingly from nowhere. This is the end of the line. At this point, only two paths remain. He either moves fully into sexual perversion and the complete debasement of his energy, becoming something barely human, or he turns back to begin the long, brutal, agonizing ascent towards purity and God. This is the map. This is the mechanism that creates the lowlife, the creep, the loser. It is a silent, internal process that has claimed millions. You have seen the stages. Now look at your own life. Where are you on this map? Be honest. You are not a free man. You are a reactor, a puppet, an addict. But now you know you cannot claim ignorance. The choice is yours. Remain a slave to the pathetic twitch in your lower body, or begin the fight to reclaim your mind, your energy, your very soul. The choice is to remain a creep, or to become a man.